Aloha everyone, my name is Alessandro and this is the Temple of Surf, the podcast. We will give you full access to the best surfers, skaters, shapers, surfboard collectors, shop owners in the world. Discover with me their stories, the greater successes, amazing behind the scenes, and much more. Hello everyone and welcome to the 20th episode of the 5th series of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. This episode is the last one of this series before the summer break. We'll be back with a new episode that I'm sure you're gonna like. Today with us from Australia is Gillian. Let's discover more about her adventure in shaping surfboards, surf, future projects, and much more. Hi Gillian, welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I am at Kirra on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. So I'm actually, I'm looking out my window at the Kirra surf break.
Not bad, right?
Yeah.
It's quite good, there is a legendary wave, right? And legendary surf.
It is. Oh, it's an amazing wave here. Yeah, we love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was discussing with Shane Bashan that he was like a US champion and he arrived up to number 2 in the world competition. That I don't know how long ago he did a triple 10 in Kirra, and there is like an amazing video of these amazing waves. So I'm sure like whoever listens and knows that you are there gonna be jealous.
When Kirra's working, you don't want to be anywhere else. It's an amazing bank here. So yeah, there's been a little bit of sand shifting around this year that's sort of altered it a little bit. It's a bit more sucky, but the shortboarders are probably loving it a bit more at the moment.
Okay. That's fair enough for them for now. Today we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about your adventure in shaping board, but much more, and women surfing. But the first question that I have for you is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
Oh, just the joy. Like surfing for me is all about joy and getting, and even as a shaper, like getting the maximum amount of joy out of that surf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the time on the board and enjoy the most.
Oh yeah, it's I'm sure we'll talk about that, but as a shaper, it's a huge responsibility to make sure that whatever I'm shaping is maximizing that joy, that experience in the water.
Of course, we're going to talk, more about that. But I'm very interested in you as a surfer first. What was your first surfboard? And do you still have that surfboard?
Yeah, no, it's actually a really cool story. I grew up on Sydney's northern beaches, and at the time, that was, I started surfing in the 80s in Sydney, and there were not many female surfers around at that time. But my brother was a phenomenal surfer, and he was sponsored at the time, and a lot of localism in Sydney back then. It was, you didn't just paddle out at any point unless you kind of knew someone there. So I was about 10, and I always looked up to my brother and all his mates surfing. They were about, 16, 17, and it just looked like fun. So I hassled my brother for ages. I want a surfboard. And he's like, no, girls can surf, and I just kept hassling him. And eventually he came home one day and he go, I found your surfboard. And it was completely brown from age. I think it was about a 6-foot kind of thruster surfboard. It had been trashed, but it cost me $10 from my paper and mark. And that was my first board, and I didn't care. I loved that thing. I was on it as often as I could. And then one day, him and his mates, this is brothers, they wanted a board to take wakeboarding behind a boat, and they snapped it in half.
Oh my God.
That was the end of my first surfboard. But I think I got a good year out of it before, yeah. And then he had to get me another one, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he was sponsored most probably got the other surfboard for free. or
I can't remember, but somebody gave me one.
okay, fantastic story, fantastic story. And today, what do you like to surf?
Oh, I've only recently, really since I started shaping and, this last couple of years, I've started to ride longboards, which I'd never really surfed before. So I don't know, I just felt like I was, sort of starts the shaping journey. I felt like I was getting older and I was traveling a lot and it was harder to keep my fitness up for my shortboard. And I don't know, I just seen these longboards around and I just thought, oh, they must be easier to surf. And so
they are easier to surf.
Sometimes they are. So I ended up buying one that wasn't for everybody. But so now at the moment I'm favouring about a 9.2. I've got two that I alternate between depending on the surf. So if it's super small, I've got a 9.2 that's a really the classic log. If the surf's sort of, super small, and anything like this morning we had some quite good surf come through and I've got another board that I call the Green Pickle, and that's my sort of more performance board, allows me to move around a bit more in the surf.
Okay. Yes, in effect, we need to clarify that in order not to have complaints right after, is that longboards are easier to surf, yes, but depends also on your surfing skill. If we ask a longboarder pro or world longboarder champion, they will not agree.
Well, my board, I'm sure we're getting to this, but my shaping journey started because I bought a longboard that was harder to surf than my shortboard. So, that sort of started my shaping journey.
So when it started this journey, quite recently, right?
So I think about 18 months ago. Yeah, it wasn't too long. Yeah, I'm what I call a baby shaper. So I'm still in that, I guess the beginning part of it. It's a lot to learn and a lot when you move from going to the other side, from being the surfer, buying the board, to actually shaping the board. It's a big transition and there's a lot of knowledge that you need, which I'm just constantly trying to build and get my head around. Yeah, I essentially went out. I was looking to transition from a shortboard to a longboard. I thought they were easy. I didn't really know much. I went into a surf shop and I said, look, I'm looking for something, bit of an easier paddle. I'm thinking a longboard. And he goes, okay. And he sold me this board and I put it in the water and it was so hard. Like it did not paddle easier than my shorter board. And when it got up, it was really skittish. Like it just was harder all round. And so I sort of came out of that surf and what initially I thought it was sort of me, like that, I wasn't as good a surfer as I thought. I should be able to jump on anything. And then I started to do some research, like, well, what is it about this board? Like, why is it harder than my shortboard? And that's when this whole world opened up to me. I discovered Richard Harvey on the Gold Coast, who's a bit of an iconic veteran shaper and surfer, with, a long time shaping boards, 50 years. So he was running a course. So I went and did a 5-day shaping course thinking I'd shape a board and then know everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently there's a bit more to it.
Apparently. Yeah. Okay. And so how was the experience with Richard?
Oh, incredible. So the first sort of 5-day course that I did, I made my first longboard. It was a 9.6, super wide, super fat. It was just to get my head around, how to shape and what that entails. Richard's a legend. Like he's got the right amount of letting you figure things out for yourself and then the right amount of sort of pulling you in. He's kind of the ultimate teacher. And I didn't realize, like I came to the shaping bay kind of like an average middle-aged female surfer.
Okay.
And so I needed to start all this knowledge from scratch. So it just sort of blew my brain. I got in the shaping bay and I thought it was just like length and width and thickness, and that was it. And then I sort of got in and my head was blowing. Like there was 60 to 70 things that you can customize on a board, and then they've got things that can be customized. So I sort of got into the shaping bay and my head was blowing up. But at the same time, it was sort of like realizing that there's all these things you can tweak on a surfboard that can actually make you a better surfer. So when I realized that for the first time, all I could think was, well, what are those things? What are those things that are going to make me better in the surf, that are going to increase that joy, that are going to compensate for my weaknesses? What are they? So I just launched myself into the bay, and each board I just be like already thinking about the next board and the next board. And I took the long road. I created a board. I create boards, and then I get them in the surf, make sure they're doing all the things that I think they're going to do. You sort of have your theory in the shaping bay, and then you get them in the water and you're like, oh, that worked. Oh, that didn't work. So understanding that through the tiniest tweaks and, really solid conversations with shapers who know what they're doing can make your surfing experience just so much more. So much more.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, there are more than 50 points, and I had several discussions with shapers. At the end of the day, it's so complicated, the art of shaping, and the perfect board doesn't exist. Even if you have like a super talented shaper that are working on the board like for 50 years, like Richard Harvey, he will tell you like there is no like the perfect board, and maybe
you kind of get,
you kind of did.
You kind of get close. Like I've got a couple of boards that the ones I'm surfing at the moment that they're just so for what I need. I think the perfect board is what makes you a better surfer and what compensates for your weaknesses in the surf so that you don't notice them. So you kind of come close, yeah.
I was reading in your blog that you still don't want to shape for other people, right? If people ask you to shape a board, you're still maybe reluctant. Is still like that? Or is still like that, or you change it? At the
moment, yeah. What I've been in is what I call like a testing phase. So, and I'm getting to the point now where I will probably start shaping for other people next year. But I describe it a little bit like I'm in a bit of an apprenticeship stage. So, I don't want somebody to come to me and say, oh, Jill, I want you to shape me a board. And I go, okay, what are the things that you're struggling with in your surfing, or what would you like to improve, or where would you like to get to? And then they tell me all of this. And then I don't create the board that they've described. That to me would be awful. So I've made this commitment to make sure that I'm thoroughly learning the process so that when I do get to that stage, which will likely be next year, I'm just about there now. So at the moment, the last board, I've got one that I'm just picking up today that's just come through glassing. But, the last couple of boards have been sensational. They've done exactly what I thought they would in the surf. And that's what I didn't want to take on any orders for anybody until I knew that I could produce what I say I can. So, I didn't want to. It's a lot of money to take for somebody's precious ride.
Of course. But I like what you were describing in your blog, that women are supporting women, and you still have a lot of women asking you, can you shape my board? And that's amazing, right?
Look, it is. I get it. And Richard said to me, don't cut yourself off to just, do boards for women. And I think he's right there. I think what it's been is that there's a woman's voice now in the industry that is talking about these things in a way that's understandable. So I think that I'm getting, a lot of traction with a female audience because I'm explaining from my own perspective, and in a way, I didn't come from this. I wasn't this epic, hardcore, award-winning surfer. I came at it as your average surfer going, I want to be a better surfer. Like I want that experience in the water to be as much joy as possible. So I think that there's a lot of women entering into surfing that, they don't come from surfing families. They don't have necessarily surfing friends. They're picking up the sport and running with it. And I think they've just been looking for, someone that makes sense and someone who can explain these things to them, in the same way I was. Like before I entered into that bay with Richard, I had no idea that all of this half of surfing existed. I had no idea how important the board was. I chanced across boards that were, that did their job in the surf, but I didn't realize that a few tweaks and that experience can go next level. And now I see people in the surf, men and women, and I look at them surfing and I go, if you just added a bit here and a bit there or change this, your whole surfing experience would improve. We see people on the wrong boards all of the time. So,
all of the time, of course.
Yeah, all of the time. So, that knowledge isn't widely known. It just seems as though I seem to be the one speaking about it, at the moment.
Yeah, but it's also good, like for a woman to speak with other women, and maybe it looks like less intimidating than let's say, for a woman that just approached the sport or approached surfing and talking with one of these big dudes or surfer, shaper legend that they are maybe not considering, enough like...
It can be intimidating. I mean, even when I went into, it can be intimidating. And I mean, even when I walked in to buy that first board that wasn't the right board for me, I walked into a major surf shop, with 100 short boards in there and one stand of longboards. Like, that's a culture. That's a culture thing. There's men serving me in the shop. They're 20 and they're probably, ripping at snapper. I wasn't that kind of surfer. Like I'm out there for the joy. I'm not driven by, adrenaline or competitiveness. I come at surfing, I think, from a bit of a different angle to a 20-year-old male. So, and I think that the female part of it is that, it's, we bring something else to the sport of surfing that's different. It's not better and it's not worse. It's different. It's a different kind of energy. We surf in a different way. We bring something different. So,
Yeah. And again, the body of a man or the body of a woman are totally different, and so the style of surfing is totally different. And again, if a woman shaper knows that, because already she's a woman, can translate it in the board, and hence can make also better surfing for all the women that she shaped for. And one of the topics that I was discussing with I think Lauren L. Hill, was the visibility. Today women surfers, but also shapers, they don't have visibility enough. And if there would be more visibility in the future, more and more women will approach the sport. Because today, clearly, you see in the water, it's like 80-90% of men and 10% of women. But those 10% of women most probably are surfing much better than the 80% of men because they are committed, right? And so visibility is an important factor. And
it definitely is. No, I agree there. Like there's not, I guess because there's not as many of us out there. And I sort of think a little bit of the industry, and I'm only just starting to understand and learn about the surf industry and how all of this works and who's in it. And, certainly in the major sort of chain stores and those bigger surf stores, heavily, the men are the gatekeepers in those arenas. So it's going to take some time, I think, for women to filter through. But I feel like we're getting there, and I feel like, I think definitely the last couple of years in surfing has been really exciting for women. Yeah.
Well, and if we talk about surfing with Aloha is an inclusive culture. It's not, in effect, we should all start from this, like surf culture is an inclusive culture. We're talking about diversity, inclusion in everything, right? And us as a surfers, we should be the first one to adopt that, right? If you think about the Hawaiians at the beginning, women were surfing more or as like the men, and we kind of forget that when we were talking about, just before localism, right? You cannot surf here. Or, you cannot surf because you are a cook, man or woman, no problem. It's like, it's very important that the surf culture shows that we are open to everybody, every kind, whether you are a man, you're a woman, whether you are gender neutral or you are disability, you have disability, and surfing with disabilities, again, an amazing thing to see, right? And from a shaping perspective, it's very challenging as well, because I was talking with certain Christian Otter Bailey, that is a US champion and ISA champion of surf, and unfortunately he cannot walk. And he told me that his surfboard are designed and shaped by shapers that are very specialized in this, because obviously, as you don't stand up on the board, you need to have a perfect symmetry, perfect dimensions. So it's even an added complication to the 51 that we were talking before. And it's amazing, and it shows how important it's shaping, and
oh, totally. Yeah. It's I'd love to think that the surfing community was at the forefront of, being inclusive and, leading the way there. But, there's still work to do. We're still seeing, there's still pockets of work to do. I'm still reading things of women having awful experiences, and men as well. I'm still watching my partner Steve only took up surfing last year, and he's absolutely addicted. He loves it, and he's progressed really, really quickly. But one thing that I've noticed is when you get in a bit of a crowded lineup, he tends to sort of sit back a bit, and surfing has a little bit of you. When you're in a crowded lineup, you've kind of got to own your spot and hold it. But I still notice there's a little bit, if I'm at the local and it's people we know, there's a bit of give and take for those people that aren't quite as savvy as some of the others. But I'm still seeing in a crowded lineup, people taking more than they're giving. I'd love to see that culture, change a little bit there too.
Of course. And in Australia, there is a lot of places to surf, if you talk about Italy, not so much. So the crowded lineup gets even crowded, But I agree with you. There are still a lot of pockets of improvement, let's say, and radical change to be made in women surfing, in surfing. And I'm sure in a way or another, we're going to get that. But the first thing that is, at least me and you, we can do today is to talk about, right?
And yes, 100%. And then sort of hopefully, some younger girls out there will look and go, oh, I wonder if I can do that, or start to put their hand up and have a go and get in the bay. Yeah.
Exactly. And people can reach out to you and say like, okay, I heard this, can I try, and Why not?
Oh, people ask all the time. Yeah, people ask all the time about that. It's not such an easy pathway. I always say to women, go find who is shaping in your local area and go and approach them, because the relationship that I've built with Richard Harvey, who's been, my mentor and teacher through this entire journey, has been extraordinary and is the reason I've gotten to the level of shaping that I'm at the moment. It's all credit to him. And that knowledge is important to preserve as well, whether you're male or female. Those old blokes shaping in the bays and hand shaping have knowledge beyond anything being spat out with machines. They understand the limitations of machines, and they, not to say that hand shaping, one's better than the other, but it's understanding what the limitations are and making sure that we hang on to that knowledge that those shapers have got. They've got, you can't replace 50 years of shaping, hand shaping is extraordinary, and then moving some of that as we move into more technological advances, bringing those two worlds together. But that passing down of the knowledge, I think, is super, super important.
Super important. And I agree with you. And I read it. I saw a picture of you and Mr. Harvey in your Instagram, right? You were saying one day he was standing next to me. One day I will stand next to somebody else, right? So
totally, and that's how I feel about it. I feel now that I've got this knowledge, I feel a huge responsibility around that knowledge. Well, firstly, because I didn't know that all this stuff existed. So now I'm like, I want to tell everybody. Like,
okay, good.
Do you know that your board can make you a better surfer or a worse surfer? Like, do you know that? I just want to get everybody and shake them. And but it's also this incredible sense like I've been gifted this extraordinary, precious knowledge that I feel in a way, responsible to hold those stories from, these are the elders in our community, in our surf community, people like Richard. And, it's been important to get that information. But for me as well, it's been important to share what I've learned in my journey. But, as I said, like to maybe one day to pass that down to somebody else, I think it's really important.
What is the most important thing in shaping? So we started with the most important thing in surfing, but what is the most important thing in shaping?
That you are matching the board to the surfer and the conditions that they like to surf in. So I may have my favorite board, but if I pass that board to my mate and they surf it, they may not have the epic experience that I'm having, because the board is matched to me and the way I like to surf and where I like to surf. So the absolute most important is getting that mix right. So I need to know, what kind of surfer are you? Like I see it, I'm in longboarding at the moment. So in longboarding, it's the classic thing. Do you like when you get on a wave and you see that nice clean face ahead of you, are you ready to move around that wave and, have spray around and move around, or are you walking to the nose? They are two different boards in my quiver. So I have a board where I look at the surf and I go, right, I want something fast and I want to be moving. So, and because I came from shortboarding, I tend to lean to that kind of surfing. It's been a journey for me to learn to walk the board and to, nose ride and those kind of things. That's been a learning journey for me, because I see the face of the wave and I instinctively want to play on it.
Yeah.
I look at the longboarders and I'm like, why are you wasting that time walking when you can be moving? So that's the first thing. So in longboarding, they're shaping two different kinds of boards there, because one board needs the tail to be held in the water while you walk out the front, So I've got to shape in the tail properly so that that can happen at the front of the board. And the other board wants that tail moving around the wave. So, it's you can kind of find middle grounds, but, it's sort of understanding how somebody surfs and then matching the board. And then, the first board I bought that was no good was designed, now I understand, was designed for 6-foot surf. Like my local's lucky to crack 2 to 3 foot at its best days. So, that's not fitting the board to the surfer. So, it's understanding that. Are you a surfer that looks outside when it's half a foot and you go, I'm not going out in that, or are you a surfer that prefers to be in, half to 1 foot? They're different boards. So that understanding of, what kind of surfer are you? What are the waves you want to have? What brings you joy? Is it turning? Is it nose right? What's going to give you the buzz? So that's what happens in the shaping.
And a lot of more of that, right? You're keeping yourself very, very busy and looking at your Instagram, right? Is there a new project you're working on? Something you like to share with me today?
Yeah, look, I just shaped my first mid-length. So
okay, congrats.
I haven't put it in the water yet because we've had not very good surf, and I've got a rule that I only like to float a new board if the surf's really good. But then the surf was really good this morning, but then I didn't want to risk that board being bad and then having a bad surf when the waves are good. So I've got a mid-length that's going to go in the water and get tested at the moment. I've also got the next board. I'm just playing with the amount of rocker in a board. We've just released some board covers, so that's something new that we designed there on my website. So Shaped by She. When I started with these longboards, I realised how impossible it was to get covers on these giant 9-foot boards, and it was like this sort of like a 2-person tug of war, or like, I don't know, there was just a multitude of problems. So I enlisted another local surfer who sews as well, and we designed some brand new board covers that are really easy to put on and off, and they look really pretty because I've got 1 foot in the art world all of the time. So yeah, we designed these new longboard covers, which are actually going really well. We're just working on how to get them a bit more mass produced at the moment.
Okay. Well, fantastic. I'm sure a lot of more projects will come, and a lot of more surfboard for sure. We're going to finish our interview with a short Q&A session. So please answer the first thing that comes out to your mind. The questions,
God, that's never good.
No, it's good. It's easy, I promise.
All right.
The questions are same for everybody on this show. So the best surfboard that you ever ridden?
The 6th board I ever made. It's called the Green Pickle, and it's a 9.2 performance board.
Okay.
I wrote it this morning.
Okay, that's nice. Your favorite shaper?
Yeah, Richard Harvey. Yeah, Richard Harvey. He just brings so much knowledge and soul. Like, he's hand shaping those boards. You get all that Richard energy in your board. I would. Yeah, I'll forever say Richard Harvey.
Personal question: your favorite song?
My favorite song?
Yes.
I've been listening to these old 80s songs at the moment. So my music moves all around. And I got caught up on Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror.
Okay.
Like, nice. It's all about, if you want to make a change, you got to look in the mirror and make a change yourself. But I've constantly got Trevor Hall on my playlist, who's a really, just really chill and really, Trevor Hall stuff is really good as well.
Fantastic. Your favorite surf spot?
Oh, you can never name them.
Secret.
There is a spot that I'm a little bit partial to because we've been in lockdowns, and it's within our lockdown region, And when I paddle out, there's only, 6 to 10 super friendly locals, and it's just been so consistent. So, yeah, I won't tell you where it is, but it's there.
Okay. Cool.
It's within half an hour. It's within an hour of my house. Yeah.
Okay. It's a nice radius from Kira, 1 hour, left or right.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck finding it.
Exactly.
The locals will be cheering me right now because they all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, keep the secret. Your favorite woman surfer?
Just the local girls. The local girls in my region are mind-blowing. And they're not on the professional circuit. A couple of them are on Instagram. Like there's Sonia down in Byron, Anna Gelasti. I saw Audrey Steinman. I mean, she's been on the pro circuit. But, yeah, they're the girls that are just out there every morning, pushing their own boundaries and just, spreading the joy. Like it's a joy to see them in the water and a joy to surf with them. Yeah.
I like that. We keep it local. The
local girl, honestly, like they on any given morning, you just look out and just go, oh, look at that. Like they're just and so beautiful. Like it's just beautiful.
The last question is a little bit unusual, has nothing to do with surf or surfing or shaping. We want to know your best relationship advice.
Oh, I love that question. I've had my fair share of shitty relationships, so I can answer. Okay. And I'm older probably than most. I think the best thing for relationships, and I've got an epic relationship. Like I adore nearly 20 years with my partner Steve.
Amazing.
And there's not a day that goes past that I don't adore that man for some reason. He's and I adore him even more since he started surfing. But the best relationship advice is to understand what an unhealthy relationship looks like. You need to understand what unhealthy looks like and recognize when you're in it.
Yeah.
Then you also have to recognize what a healthy relationship looks like. I didn't have great role models around me for what healthy relationships look like. I found them later in life. And sometimes we don't know what healthy looks like. But, yeah, my biggest advice is go and put some energy and time into finding out what unhealthy looks like. And if you're in it, run.
Yeah. You can apply that to surf, if you are on a wave and you feel like that wave is gonna smash you out or is gonna crash you or is not a good one, just let it go. Don't take it and go for the better one.
I would liken it to surfboards. If you're on a shitty board and you keep having a shitty surf experience, get rid of the shitty board.
Exactly. I like that.
But you have to recognize what that shitty board looks like and why it's shitty.
Exactly. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And I look forward to talk to you very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a joy. And anyone reach out to me anytime. I'm all over social media. So it's just a joy. And I hope you're all enjoying the waves out there.
Of course, they all do, I hope. Thank you so much. Ciao. Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!